"So, who's it gonna be?" Arthur's father sipped his coffee, placing it on the wooden table they gathered around. They had just finished breakfast with the twin horns in a modest, lively inn. The group chatted over eggs, meats, potatoes, and fresh bread, while Arthur's mother wiped food from his sister's mouth. "Coo!" Sylvie hopped onto the table, head high. Everyone understood she meant, "I'm enough to protect Papa. Sylvie, come here!" Arthur's sister waved meat, tempting his dragon bond. Sylvie drooled before leaping into her arms. Arthur chuckled, imagining Sylvie being lured by any bandit with meat. His father's former party members, having finished a dungeon exploration, had free time. The question was not availability, but their willingness for the mission. Adam, polishing his spear tip, spoke first. "Babysitting doesn't really fit my style, so I'll pass on this. Besides, with my personality, I feel like Arthur might kill me in my sleep one day." Despite the joke, his father nodded solemnly. He knew Adam's temperament, and that Adam and Arthur weren't likely to get along well. His father continued, "I was hoping Durden or Helen would accompany Arthur. Honestly, I can't offer much, but Alice and I are more than willing to compensate you in whatever way we can if you do this." "Don't talk like that, Ray. We're all family here." "I, for one, would love to accompany him and watch him grow anyhow." The gentle giant, Durden responded, his narrow eyes becoming even smaller as he smiled. "Durden's right. You of all people should know we're not doing this for the money. Besides, we managed to get quite a bit of treasure from our last dungeon raid," Helen said, shaking her head. A pale hand silently rose and everyone at the table turned. "I volunteer." "Jasmine, you want to go with Arthur?" Angela sputtered, looking at her brusque companion in shock. While Angela was eager to accompany Arthur, he felt she'd be more danger than help. Arthur hinted her unsuitability, but hadn't expected Jasmine to volunteer to accompany him. Helen said, scratching her head. "Logically speaking, Jasmine is the most suitable person to protect Arthur. Durden only specializes in offensive area of effect spells. I would like to go with Arthur too, but I feel I'm probably not the ideal person, since protection isn't really my strong suit." "Jasmine, are you sure?" Arthur's mother asked, concerned. Jasmine looked at Arthur's mother with a determined gaze and nodded firmly. "Pfft, the lady says she wants to go, let her go." Adam chuckled, leaning back. "She's the only augmenter among us with an elemental affinity. She just reached the dark yellow stage last year, and with her wind attribute, I think she's the best suited." "Well, Arthur only needs one companion, and Jasmine probably is the best choice. For Arthur's safety then, I suppose I'll have to step down. It's a pity though." Durden scratched his head, clearly disappointed. "Sorry, Durden, I know how much you care about Arthur." Arthur's father put a hand on the large mage's shoulder. "Maybe I'll join the Twin Horns on a dungeon raid in the future," Arthur said. Durden smiled, nodding at Arthur and tousling his hair. The rest of the Twin Horns chuckled merrily as their conversation concluded. It was decided. In a week, Arthur and Jasmine would register at the Adventurers Guild. A simple test would make him an E-class adventurer, his rank advancing with mission success. When they returned home, Arthur spotted Lilia downstairs meditating. "Lily, no fair training without me." Arthur's sister rushed past him, plopping into a sitting position next to Lilia. Arthur judged it would take them years to form a mana core. Lilia, at her rate, should awaken at the average age. Ellie, however, lacked training patience, quickly growing bored. It would take her longer. Arthur was fine with this, not wanting her to attract early attention as a mage. He'd be proud if she formed a core by 9 or 10. After putting away his jacket, Arthur turned to his father, who was still ascending the stairs. "Dad, can we go to the auction house again? I'd like to pick out a sword. We never had the chance to after the incident, and I've wanted to start practicing." "Sure. I have a few things I need to talk to my team about anyway. We'll ask the carriage driver to stay for a little bit, so go wash up." Lilia's parents waited at the auction house. Arthur, seeing them first since the incident, faced many health questions. After reassuring them, they entered. Arthur sensed Vincent's displeasure with the king's actions. Mirroring the king's dismissiveness, Arthur felt only apathy. Arthur thought, "He clearly saw me as insignificant, which suited me fine." The king's representative had told them that both Sebastian and the augmenter who attacked Arthur that night had been stripped of their positions, but Vincent merely scoffed when Arthur's father told him this. Rolling his eyes, Vincent told them the sentencing was a comforting lie. "Bah! Men like them. They get their wrists slapped and just take a break for a bit. It won't be long before they have their positions back." Arthur's father clenched his fists tightly, but such politics were familiar to Arthur. Eventually, the questions stopped. Arthur's father went with Vincent to meet the guards. Tabitha headed home in their carriage, and Arthur was left alone to search for a sword. From Arthur's head, Sylvie curiously eyed the cluttered storage hall's crates and shelves. The Helsty auction house held goods from merchants, adventurers, and remote areas, like the Dwarven Kingdom. The auction house had little business with elves since their war over land, between Beastglades and Forest of Elshire, ended in stalemate. Relations slowly improved, even allowing a tournament, but enmity persisted. This was a pity, as lighter elven weapons would have ideally suited Arthur's physique. Living with the Ereliths in Elenoir, Arthur learned that, while dwarven forged items were top class due to their mastery, elves excelled in bows, staffs, and wands. Most enchanted weapons were gone from prior bids. Only regular weapons remained for stalls. This suited Arthur, seeking dependability, not something special. Searching the rows of shelves, Arthur tested several swords. He assessed each quickly before returning it, dissatisfied with their crude workmanship. Their balance was off, and sloppy shaping made them suitable only for basic swings and thrusts. Swords here, Arthur noted, had 3 types. Large swords, wide heavy blades, long claymores, were favored by warriors and offensive augmenters for power, though some found them unrefined. Broadswords, more balanced and common for knights/adventurers, were usually one-handed with a shield. 2-handed versions existed. They offered versatility, standard for learning swordsmanship. Lastly, lighter, thinner blades, sabers, katanas, Arthur's old term, rapiers, daggers, the former for speed/precision, daggers for concealment or agile dual-wielding. The auction house had many, but quality was subpar. Arthur's inner swordsman, initially excited, soon felt disappointment. All weapons were second-rate. Hours of searching revealed his now particular taste in swords, though he hadn't considered himself picky. Sylvie had grown bored of Arthur's repeated actions, removing a sword, swinging it, and unhappily replacing it, so she hopped off his head to begin her own adventure. Arthur delved deeper, testing any sword remotely matching his criteria. He navigated shelves of appealing blades to a section of swords crammed in barrels. Swinging a plain short sword, barely acceptable, he sighed. Arthur thought, I'll have to settle. I can't find anything else. This search was fruitless. Giving up on a better sword, Arthur entered the miscellaneous section. He saw unique, if inefficient, childlike weapon designs. Navigating the aisles, Arthur laughed aloud at finding something very similar to nunchucks from his former world. There was even a morning star so heavy that, even augmenting himself with mana, he struggled to lift it. Looks like a dead end, Sylv, Arthur said, sitting on the ground and leaning against a gigantic shield as Sylvie continued to trot about. Then she let out an eager chirp. Arthur made his way toward his bond, who was digging through a pile of weapons. A cloud of dust soon encompassed them as Sylvie continued digging, apparently searching for something. With another excited squeak, Sylvie used her front paw to point at an unremarkable black rod. It was less than a yard long and looked like a walking cane. That's not quite what I'm looking for, Sylv, Arthur sighed. But Sylvie hopped over, nudging him toward the black stick. Relenting, Arthur picked it up, surprised by its weight. It looked thinner in his hand. Though seemingly polished wood, it was far heavier than a simple walking stick. Holding the rod up, Arthur inspected it carefully. Its matte coat reflected no light. Its surface was smooth. Arthur then noticed intricate indentations forming a surface design. Otherwise, the rod seemed unremarkable. Sylvie, however, gazed at it, golden eyes twinkling as if at a treasure. Still finding nothing remarkable about it, Arthur tried swinging it. It felt good. The weight was remarkably well distributed, even more so than the short sword Arthur had reluctantly settled on. Another swing made Arthur confident this rod's balance was too precise for it to be simply a walking stick or a staff. Excitement growing inside him once more, Arthur willed mana into his eyes to enhance his vision, looking for anything unusual about the rod. His hope was rewarded. Even more faint than the markings on its surface, there was a barely noticeable line dividing the stick into 2 parts. This was a sword. Arthur immediately tried to pry the sword out of its scabbard, but it wouldn't budge. Even after reinforcing his body with mana, he wasn't able to muster the strength to pull it out. Arthur thought, don't tell me this is some sort of Excalibur I have to be worthy of. Pushing away this silly notion, Arthur infused fire attribute mana into the sword, but still had no luck. After half an hour of effort, Arthur thought, what if elemental attribute mana was not the answer? Arthur thought, no way. What if Arthur activated Sylvia's dragon will? He didn't use its power, but simply infused the will into the sword. This time, a light tug was all it took for the sword to slide free.